Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to Raed for hosting us today. Beautiful venue, beautiful design. More importantly, for curating such an amazing set of people all around the room. Really great to reconnect with old friends and make some new connections. So I'm going to walk you through very briefly through a presentation that we threw together late last night. About kind of our journey. I'm used to talking at length actually about lean, so to tell me to talk about lean in less than 5 minutes is going to actually be a challenge. So that's me. I'm Hisham. I'm a Saudi national, born and raised in the Eastern Province. Went to Stanford University. I was very lucky to have met some amazing people, including my co-founder, who, funny enough, grew up just across the causeway in Bahrain. And while I was in Silicon Valley, I was really inspired by technology, innovation, and the impact that it had on the rest of the world. After Stanford, I spent a couple of years working in venture. And one thing struck me more than anything, which was the lack of fintech penetration in Saudi Arabia. So if you look at 2018 and 2019, there was less than 20 fintech companies in the kingdom. Right? You're talking about a country with the majority of the people being under the age of 30. You're talking about high digital penetration, high banking penetration, and really the ripe demographic for fintech consumption. So the question that we were asking was, why was there no fintech penetration in the country? And after a little bit of analysis and some research, we learned that the main barrier to entry for fintech was in fact the infrastructure barrier to entry. And what I mean by this was so many fintech companies that had grown to the multi-billion-dollar mark in the US, in the UK, and in other parts of the world actually built their connections out of the bank accounts of their end users. And what I mean by this is there was usually an intermediary in the middle that allowed them to access their customers' banking data, and that allowed them to connect to their customers' payment accounts to initiate direct bank-to-bank transfers. So enter Lean. Lean is an API hub. We are an open banking player that connects all of our clients with all of the banks in the UAE and KSA. We enable our customers, i.e. the lending companies, the fintech companies, the digital banks, etc., to initiate direct bank-to-bank transactions and to access their customers' data. A brief view on what we've achieved so far. Walillah alhamd, in the last 4 years, we've connected to over 500,000 customer accounts. And we've managed to successfully process over 5 billion riyal in total process volume in this brief period of time. And I'm very pleased to announce, or rather to thank the belief and the forward-thinkingness that Raed Ventures had back in 2020 for investing in us and believing in our vision, which many people actually just thought was absolutely ridiculous. So fast forward a little bit, we've managed actually to amass even more investors such as Sequoia, Liberty City Ventures, in addition to human capital, etc. So we're very, very pleased to have raised from really great brand names around the world and to be regulated as well by the Saudi Central Bank and Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Just a brief kind of highlight on some of the clients that are using us. A lot of you are familiar with Tabby. Tabby is the leading buy now, pay later company in the region. Tabby now actually has improved their underwriting by over 8.9% by connecting to customer banking data. And more importantly, the default rate has gone down by over 4 times. Same thing with شركة الاتصالات in the UAE, processing payments through Lean, and that has been wildly successful over the last year. So back to the graph that I showed earlier, it was a bit sad to see just 20 companies in Saudi Arabia in the fintech industry. Fast forward 4 years, and we have seen over 76% annualized growth in the kingdom, with over 1,000 fintech companies and over $1 billion spent in the fintech industry in 2022, and there's a lot more growth to come. So with that, I would like to welcome our panelists. We've put together 3 of the global venture capital investors that are going to be talking to us about fintech globally, the trends they see in VC, and more importantly, I'm going to be grilling them a little bit about what they see in Saudi Arabia and why it's such an exciting market. So thank you very much for your time, and with that, I'd like to invite our panelists.